Good afternoon or good morning, everyone. This is Mark with Margill Loan Manager. I'm Mark Jalina. Many of you know me. Welcome to this webinar on what's new in version 5.5. This is pre-recorded since I have a busy week training. So there you have it. Let's begin. It'll be about 40 minutes. And a few things we suggest looking at a 720p or 1080p resolution. It might already be set. As mentioned, this video it's recorded, so you'll be able to consult it either on YouTube or on the Margill website in the knowledge base. If you have any questions, please send to support@margill.com. We'll be happy to answer them. You can always call us by phone, but the best is always by email. How to listen to this webinar, since we'll be covering many items, many of them won't be pertinent for your method of working. Take notes on what you think is important, and this way you'll be able to dig further into these specific needs. And as you know, we're always there to help you out. Simply email or call, email being the best way to do it. A few housekeeping items. If you need assistance with Margill, don't send it directly to myself, to David, or somebody else. Send it to support@margill.com. Many of us pick up this email, so there's a better chance you'll get your support much quicker. If you don't hear from us very quickly, of course, in business hours, normal Eastern business hours in North America, really do give us a call or send an email again, because we respond very quickly to most emails. So if you don't hear from us quickly, it's because it went to spam or something. So just get back to us, leave a message or call us or send another email or send directly to myself or David. So we'll take care of you, of course. How can we improve Margill? Of course, if you have any irritants, please send us your suggestions. You guys are the owners of the software. You're the users, should I say. So please, give us your opinion. Very important for us. Okay, game plan. We're going to cover what's available in terms of documentation on the website. We'll go over what's new in version 5.4. We'll look at the major changes in version 5.5. Currently, the latest version is from January 26, 2023. There will be a new version out by the end of February, which will contain most of what we're covering. We'll look at some important features which people are not always using, and what's coming up in version 5.5, probably in April. A couple of cool things in there. So our knowledge base, this is on the Margill website, margill.com, margill.com. We have over 100 articles on how to do things. We have videos, we have questions, we answer special scenarios. So it's really worth looking at. And you can search the database with keywords, so Margill Loan Manager with keywords. If you're not an expert in interest calculations, do consult our white paper on interest. We updated it in 2020, and we sometimes make a few changes here and there as we learn new things ourselves. So it's really a good reading material, great for falling asleep. We talk about simple interest, compound interest, day count, a whole bunch of other scenarios. User guide. We have a big user guide, over 1,000 pages. Unfortunately, it's still version 5.1. Last year, I wrote the same thing. User guide 5.5 should be available this summer. It was supposed to be 2022. Hopefully it'll be 2023, but they take so long to do, and we have bilingual French and English, so they take a long time to do. But they're quite well done, but they're long. A couple of things not to forget from the older version 5.4, headlines only. Don't forget, there is now an API in which to import and update loan and borrower data via JSON or Excel files. It's what we call hot folders. You can connect Margill almost in real time to your existing information systems or a web page in order to populate data in Margill directly. You can also add new transactions via an Excel sheet. If you're using a Salesforce, a CRM, Salesforce, there's an API directly for Salesforce. And in Salesforce, it's usually to update borrower information or to add borrower data into Margill. Less for loans per se. You can automatically recompute principal and interest payments. For example, the interest rate changes. All the P&I payments could be calculated automatically to give you a balance of 0 at the end. That's quite interesting. Or it could be if somebody does not pay, he was supposed to pay 1,000, he paid nothing, so his next payments will become 1,010.26. So a useful feature which should be used sparingly. So not everybody wants this. You can now send SMSs. Our partner is called Fogel Median. If you need information on that, please contact customer support, David or myself. Advanced mathematical equations, we can now use if conditions. So if this, then give me this amount. If not, it's this other amount. You can send reports overnight. You can send, for example, the month's financials via Excel by email, and it could be done automatically or even every single day. And this could also be used for you to populate other databases via an Excel sheet. Every day at 12 o'clock or at 1 o'clock in the morning, something is sent either by email or on a special folder, and you extract this data with your other information systems. You can now create custom record statuses. We have active, drafts, whatever. You can now create as many other ones as you want, such as bankruptcy. The loan could be in bankruptcy, although it's the person, but bear that in mind that you can create new ones. If you were to create active number 2 is not active. It's simply active number 2. It is not an active record like what we consider to be active. The name doesn't change anything. It's really something completely different. You can have record colors, you can add filters, and you can have labels. So red could become urgent, so you have that information. MFA, multi-factor authentication, for added security could be a useful feature. Release notes, go on our website. This is not up to date. I believe it should be very soon anyways. What's coming up in version 5.5, much more detail than what we have today. That's coming up probably in a week or so. Click on release notes right here. Okay, what's new in version 5.5? Let's get going. I won't read these. We actually have slides for each one to demonstrate how they work. Same thing here. Okay, more what's new. I'm not going too fast just for the recording. Again, more changes. Advanced features and what's coming up in a later version of 5.5. We'll be covering this right after. So let's get going. The most significant change or new module is the variable rate module. You were always able to do variable interest rates, but now when you update the interest table or the interest tables, you can use multiple rate tables, the payment schedule will automatically get updated. And there are two scenarios. When you update your rate table, all your corresponding payment schedules will be updated on the same day. Or you could say, I want to have rate adjustment dates. For example, I could say, no matter when my rate changes, I'm only adjusting once a month or once every quarter. Every January 1, April 1st, July, and October 1st. So no matter what happens in between, it will ignore all those rates and pick up the rate on July 1st, October 1st, etc. Or every month or at the frequency you want. You can also have of course, you can add a spread. This is hidden here. You can have a spread of plus or minus X%. We now have the e-signature in partnership with a company called Eversign. I believe they're based in Germany. You subscribe to their service. I think it's $50 a month, something like that. And you can send out directly in the merge tool. You can send directly to the creditor to the borrower, to the co-borrowers, and to the guarantors. You can ask all these people for their signatures. It's all sent out, it's all managed by Eversign. And in the end, you're gonna have the signatures on the documents, as is legal in most countries. You're gonna have to redo your document slightly to have the signatures on the last page only. And you cannot put in initials. So you would say, signatures are contained on the last page with all the contractual blah, blah, blah. And you'll notice this is in the document itself, sorry, in the loan itself. And you can consult all the documents on the Eversign portal, waiting for signature, waiting for others, completed, etc. And all the documents will be in here. They do not automatically populate in the loan manager. You cannot attach them. So you would have to actually save it in your dashboard and then import it into the loan manager, or consult everything via the Eversign dashboard. That's the future. You should start working on that. We now have paid principal and paid interest line statuses. In version 5.4, we had interest paid and principal paid, but people have asked for more. So I could have one called interest paid. So it's an adjustment only. So I could call this interest paid, but adjustment, or interest adjustment, or principal adjusted, a minus to add principal. It's the opposite, to reduce my principal amount. So these can be renamed as you want, and they avoid the need to use, some people have been using what we call a fixed principal payment with what we call option 3. You wouldn't need that anymore. So very useful for those of you who understand what I'm talking about here. So very useful for non-cash type transactions. For Canadians, we have a new provider. We have Perceptech and also a company called Vopay, who are located in Vancouver and Toronto, I believe. So you can have debit orders or pre-authorized payments, and you can also send e-transfers to your customers for up to $25,000, I believe. It's sent here. You have to enter a password, the transfer amount, and the name, etc. Give them a security question. One click, e-transfer, and it's sent. It's almost instant. If you need Volpay information, please contact us. Please contact customer support. We see this quite often. Often we see people charging what we call origination fees. So in the older version, you would create your payment schedule. You'd have to go in, insert a line at the very beginning, and enter your fees, and then have the software recompute all your payments subsequently. What we've added now, if you go to add fees, we could say you add fees on all due payments. That's fine, like the old method, or only at the origination date. So I could say I want to charge $675 on the origination date. I tell the system which line status I want. It's one of these other 1 to 10. And automatically it will kick in when you click on compute. The origination fees will be there on the origination date. The amount is here, and my payments are automatically recalculated to give you a balance or a residual value. So much, much, much faster if you're using origination fees only on one date at the origination date. A little trick, by the way, if you're using fees with or without interest, so you can say with or without interest, there's a button at the bottom left of the column fees window where you can say save as default. So if you want to know interest on these fees, you would say save as default, down here somewhere. And next time you create a new loan for all new loans only, not the old loans, they would not have interest. Or you could have a $30 fee every single month. It would be there by default. This is by user. So every user would have to set his or her default. Little trick that's quite interesting. You can now send emails and SMSs not only to the borrower, but to the co-borrower and guarantors, which we didn't have before. Either in the main window, you select the loans, they become blue, right click with the mouse, and here are the options. You'll notice if you send it to the borrower, it's a normal email. For a co-borrower, it's a carbon copy. And for the guarantors, who are less implicated in each loan, they are blind carbon copies. So they can be sent to all of them at the same time. Same thing in when you go for your document merge, the document merge in PDFs, send it to borrower, co-borrower, and guarantors, BB, CC, etc. All right. So that's for sending out extra information. In the main window, this will be a pain for some of you who don't keep up to date. There are 3 warning signs. There's a big exclamation mark, there's a red one, there's an orange one, and a yellow one. Yellow, orange are not that critical. But this one, the red one, is critical. What I hate most when I give training is to see a big exclamation mark that's been there for weeks and weeks and weeks. When you see this, it means you have to do something. There's something wrong with the system. Right now, so what we've changed, it will now be bigger and blinking. Not too fast, but enough just to annoy you. That's one thing. So when you see this, you have to get rid of it, period. We've also put a color on unmanaged records. It can be taken out if you want. This can be hidden. But what this means, if I see this in a certain color, red or pink, it means I have some due payments X number of days before the current date. Don't forget, if you have due payments in the past, it means those loans have been unmanaged. You must always have paid payments, unpaid, late, etc. in the past, and in the future they're due. Otherwise, you can't really produce your accounting because they've not been managed. We don't know if they're paid or unpaid. They're in limbo. We don't want that. We want to avoid that. So when you see this color, it doesn't make sense. Or increase the number of days. You can have a certain leeway. You could say, don't bug me until it's 15 days past when they're due. Invoices and statement. Thank you for a client in California. What these guys do is they use alerts to send out statements. So they go to a loan. They say, okay, I have to send out the statement on February 25th or whatever. So they could show up in today's alerts. So I could select all the guys that need to be sent, and I go to my document merge and send everything by email. Much, much quicker. Access only some record types. So there's a new feature in Tools, Settings, under User Management, in which you could say, John can only access personal loans, business loans, and auto loans. He cannot see lines of credit and mortgages with escrows. Or whatever. So you decide who can see what. Mathematical equations. This one I'll go very, very quickly. We optimized our equations to factor in the monetary method. In the older systems, we used to, it's more precise, but it's wrong. We used to use 6 decimal places, but now since a dollar or a euro or a pound can only be with 2 decimal places, we've changed it to be more standardized with 2 decimal places. So everything is multiplied by up to 2 decimal places, not 6. Not the same thing for the interest rates. Interest rates is 8 decimal places. Number of line status occurrences. We added this in the mathematical equations. So you could multiply, for example, number of unpaid payments multiplied by the amount that should have been paid to obtain what amount is due on the unpaid, or due payments or whatever. So it's a multiplication by number of occurrences by a certain amount. This is a fun one. If you're using the system in a more advanced method, there are 9 columns, not the fees, but these 9 columns are extra columns, a bit like in Excel where you want to add an extra column to add extra information. In the current version, you could have monetary, you could have numerical and text. Now you can define drop downs. So in the column called draw number 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., it now becomes these pull down menus. I believe this was even improved where you don't see the drop downs everywhere. It's only when you click in it you'll see the drop down. less chance of error when you do this. It's recommended to always leave the first one blank, because otherwise, if you go in here, if you start clicking on it, it won't give you any blanks. Oh, I want it to be blank. Well, you won't be allowed anymore. So always leave the first one blank. Your default should always be blank anytime you create a custom field or whatever. Expected payment equals 0 for due payments. In Margill, you're able to get the outstanding amounts. There is a column called expected payment. So ordinarily, I was expecting 1,000 euros. I got 1,000 euros, so my outstanding is 0. Next payment rolls around, it was unpaid. I was expecting 1,000, I got 0, so I'm outstanding by 1,000. Client calls you up, he goes, hey, listen, Mark, I will pay you 1,005 next month. Oh, great, okay. So I will create one called due payment extra. I hope he's gonna pay me, or she. And I will say expected payment is 0. I wasn't expecting anything March 15th. I was expecting on the 1st. So I'm gonna set this already when I set up his new payment, when I insert a new line, to expected payment equals 0. So what's gonna happen when I change this from due to paid, it'll be expected payment of 0. So it'll reduce my outstanding from 1,000 back to 0. So he's overpaying really. But at least you won't have to go in manually and change your expected to 0. IDs, those of you who know me know how crazy I am about unique identifiers. Unique identifiers allow you to communicate with third-party systems and to make sure there's no duplicate data in the system. For example, your social security number, if it's unique, I know that I won't have John Doe in there twice if I put in the social security number. Or the EIN, the enterprise number in the US, could be compulsory. And I could say it's unique. So we used to have 2 unique, now you can have the EIN and the file number as unique identifiers. And here it is in personalized standard fields, user settings. In the import, if you do imports by Excel, you can standardize certain formats like the zip code, the postal code, social security, and the phone number. So you're able to have 2 formats, for example. It is only when you import data, it's not when you enter data manually. I'm sure eventually, if there's a demand for that, we could say, okay, apply this when the person enters it manually also. It's not done, but it could be eventually done. Attach files and batch to loan or borrowers. I was visiting a client in the Pacific. That sounds cool. This client had thousands of loans in which they took pictures or scans of the social security cards. So we created a special tool that says if there's a unique ID and the file name is exactly the same. So my social security number, for example, is 654789. If my JPEG or my PDF is exactly the same number, I can then tie the unique ID or the unique file name directly in there, so I can mass import this information or these files and attach them to either the borrower or to the loans. I need my key is my unique identifier. The right mouse click with the record color. In version 5.4, you would have to put a record color with the right mouse click in the main window. In the newer versions, if you're in a payment schedule, if you right click, as always, you can go record color and choose your color or remove a color directly in here. So it's one step less if need be. And if some of you are crazy about colors, I recommend instead of colors, use them sparingly, don't use too many. Instead, use a custom field with custom fields so you can sort any which way you want. Keep the colors for important stuff. That's my advice anyways. Reporting, you can now sort by, this was especially important for borrower first name and last name. Some clients said, hey, I can't sort by really by people. So you can now sort by borrower ID. So if it's John Doe, there are many John Does in my database, or even Does. If I sort by Doe, I can get John and Mary and whoever Doe. Now, if I can sort by borrower, I include this, and then I really have it by the persons, by real people. For those of you who are using the GL report to send your transactions with debit and credit codes directly to Sage or QB QuickBooks, and if you're using participation, you can now use the amount participation, and we're going to extract the participation for each creditor. Of course, it's an advanced feature. Notice how now the reporting page looks nicer. It's cute. It's nicer anyways. We're getting there. We're getting to the end, so bear with me. There is a new concept called expected principal. There are 2 new columns in the software, and they are not automatically calculated when you update. There's something, we're working on that right now in version 5.5, so it's not available in the version yet. It'll be by end of February, I believe, or early March 2023. It's a way of knowing from a principal perspective how much are they underpaying or overpaying. Remember how we have the concept of expected payment? Now it's the same thing with expected principal. So in this normal loan, I would be expecting, with a payment of $4,484, I would be expecting this much principal. If they pay the exact right amount, perfect, the balance becomes 0, 0, 0. Oh, here, notice they overpaid by $100, which means they are below $100. They're actually overpaying the principal. This can also be a 0 if you don't want to have the negatives. There's an extra option. In this case, so they overpaid. Now there's an interest component because they're overpaying interest also. They're overpaying principal because there's less interest. In this case, they're underpaying by $1,000, which means now they are underpaying at $897. Of course, the interest factors in because now they're not paying enough interest, or they overpaid interest. So it gives you an idea. And we've created actually a new refund order that takes into account the expected principal. The normal refund order, payment will first pay fees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then interest, then principal. This new refund order will first pay interest, the expected principal, column fees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and if there's left over, it'll pay extra principal. So it's a new refund order, a special one. Very rarely will people use this one. So we're getting there. Now, other things, other new elements in 5.5 where we don't have slides. You can now import bank account information through auto imports via JSON or Excel sheets. When you import transactions, you go to Tools, you go to Post Payments, and Bulk Payment Import via Excel. So you're importing new payments. If you're importing 1,000 new payments, it was always difficult finding the error messages. So now you can sort by error messages. They appear in red, so they're much easier to find. For those of you who do credit reporting, Metro 2 for Equifax, Experian, or whatever, the date of first delinquency can now be changed manually if your consumer indicator is bankruptcy or something other than empty. This was required by a few clients. Again, in Metro 2, if you go in global changes, you can report on the same borrower associated with the record. You'll just save time to match your borrower and your loan. It's just a bit quicker. There are a few new options in global changes. I won't go over that. There are 3 new payment schedules in the document merge. Those of you who use document merge, you know that under the general theme, there are what we call payment schedules, or what we call detailed lines. These are templates which are actually the payment schedule, but based on various columns. And clients will say, hey, I need this payment schedule in my merge documents, but I want my line type not to appear. I don't want to see the interest rate. So we have up to 24 at this stage, and as clients need them, we add some more. We made a correction in version 5.5. It's coming up soon. It's really an exception. If you're using paid interest and using what we call capitalized interest, in special situations, what we call the computational balance will be off. So if you're using capitalized interest, not simple interest, not normal compound interest, and you were using paid interest, really do give us a call before you update to version 5.5, the latest one, at the end of February, because there might be some changes in your totals. Very minor, but they're there. And of course, there are exceptions, but they exist. We're always improving the software, of course. Coming later on in version 5.5, and this will be a godsend for many of you who have big databases, we increased almost tenfold the refresh rate. We're still testing it, probably in late March 2023. We did some tests. You can load 45,000 loans in 6 seconds, which would probably take a minute right now. So if you have 1,000 or 2,000, 3,000 loans or a few hundred, it's probably instant by now with this new version. An advanced feature, if you're capitalizing interest, so simple interest where you're capitalizing month end or beginning of each month, you'll be able to pay the capitalized interest before paying the accrued interest. Yes, it's an advanced feature for very, very few clients, but it's coming up. And there'll be the corresponding reporting fields. I could have, for example, how much interest was capitalized this month, this year, or whatever. So it'll be available very soon. Again, in the late March version, maybe a bit earlier, who knows. Don't forget, a few things. We're finished with version 5.5. Go on the website for more information. Hold on till next week. Don't forget, these are a few things, little pointers here. In the main window, I see some clients when I give some training that they never change the main window. They have information with nothing in there, of no value. So go to Tools, Settings, User Settings, and go in Displayed Fields and set up what you want to only see what you need. This is user-based. You can even customize what appears in here. Personalize your results table. There are 60 columns in each of the results table, or the payment schedule. We call it payment schedule now. Delete anything you don't need. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. We want to see less is more. Personalized record identifiers. If you go in Tools, Settings, you could, when you open up a loan, you'll see on the top left, you can have the name, first name, business, loan number, etc. So you can show whatever a few elements in here. And we added in version 5.5, you can now have the record type can be in there also. Again, in the payment schedule, as we're getting older, you can make your characters a bit bigger or smaller. It's up to you. Use the post-payment tool to quickly update payments. I give some training, and I still see some customers opening up 100 loans every month or 200 loans. They open up each loan, they change the line status from due payment to paid. They do it manually. Do not do this. There are tools to mass post payments. Please use them. Use global changes to mass change data or add data for records or borrowers. In the main window, right-click, and you've got your global changes. Same thing for the borrowers. Right-click in the borrower tab, and you can do the same thing. You can even import or change data via an Excel sheet. Again, with a unique identifier, column 1, column B, or column 2 would be column B in Excel. Would be the new data or the update or the updated data. Finally, use advanced queries for reporting. I still see some customers in the main window, they sort their 1,000 loans. They say, I only want to get these. So they sort, they select, and then they produce the reports. Don't do that. Create an advanced query. For example, I want to have all my loans that are active and which are personal loans. Oh, I only want to report on those, or on a special creditor or whatever, create an advanced query. It'll save you so much time and avoid errors, missed records, or whatever. Don't forget line statuses. I mentioned this a bit earlier. Very critical. The software offers lots of flexibility. There are due payments, so payments coming up, which I hope to receive. You've got paid payments, which pay column fees, interest, and principal. We have unpaid payments, where we have line statuses where you add principal, or you can add interest, and there are others. Only paid payments pay column fees, interest, and principal. Even if you were to rename other number 6 to paid cash, it would not pay column fees, interest, and principal. So be very careful and hide anything you don't need. If you're not using paid payment number 6, hide it. Only use it if you need it. And always think carefully about the appropriate line status. And if you are to add a new line status, always make sure your equations factor in this new line status and your reports. If you create a new line status called paid by Bitcoin, but it's not in your reports, it won't appear in your reports, period. So you'll be missing everything was paid by Bitcoin. So line statuses are critical, but they must be used carefully. Okay. There you have it with my line statuses. A couple more things, a couple of best practices. Use the overnight tasks to recompute totals and do a bunch of things. For example, if you have 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 loans in the system, you come in the morning, it takes a long time to load because it has to do a bunch of calculations. If you were to do this overnight, we can help you out with this. It's very straightforward. The system would do all this at 1 o'clock in the morning. So you walk in at 8, 9, and everything would already be done for you. So load time would be a fraction of what it used to be. You can also produce reports automatically. So every day I want to send my CFO a report on whatever, an Excel sheet, it could be done automatically. And same thing with alerts, to also backups, etc. Don't forget to always close your software. You should close it every day so it does things when you open it up. We've heard of clients simply leaving it open. Well, don't. Even if it's longer in the morning, use overnight tasks, save a lot of time, and avoid errors. If you leave your software open, there can be database corruptions. So it's really important to close your software every day. Document merge, this is getting old, but use docx. No longer use rich text format, much higher performance. You can block your users from changing historical transactions. So we don't want people changing old transactions like that are older than 30 days or 10 days or whatever. So they can become grayed out. So only one user would be able to go back retroactively and change data. So it's a way to avoid errors. You can set compulsory fields. So this field must be entered. Otherwise, I cannot save my loan unless it's a draft. Quite useful eventually for social security numbers, for EINs, etc. Send out automatic emails or SMSs to borrowers X day before a payment is due. Dear John, a payment is due on March 15th for $1,000. If you cannot pay, please call me ASAP. Or after a payment bounces. Dear John, okay, dear Mary, a payment bounced. Please call me so we can take an arrangement. Start using automatic data import and update. This is communication with your third party or loan or what we call customer relations, CRM systems, customer relations management systems could be used and data could be sent automatically to Margill or updated. It's the future and it's starting to be the present. And now started using the e-signature. Not everybody is up to it yet, but you can start slowly starting the e-signature. It's the way of the future anyways. Those of you, well, COVID is over, hopefully, or almost over, but Margill is available on the cloud. It's hosted on Microsoft Azure. We do the software updates. We do the backups. Security is good security, of course. And you can access anywhere the software from margill.net with a remote connection. Finally, training is key. I see clients who have never had training, or they had 1 hour or 2 of training, and sometimes it's a mess. The reports are not up to date. They're using old methods. So really take an hour, 2 hours. Let's do some training. We offer remote training and even on-site. If it's on-site, we'll be glad to go. We take 2 days with you, 2-3 days, and we get things going right on track. So quite important to do training. So further information, release notes are on this page. Update margill.com/get. Don't update to version 5.5 yet. Wait a week or two, but it's still available, but it's not the latest version. Questions, send it to support@margill.com. You can always call us. And if you have cool questions, we'll include them in our knowledge base anonymously. So there you have it. Thank you very much. Please send this presentation to others to see, so that they'll see what's happening. It's very important to see what's new in the software. Thanks again. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye-bye.